Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of what would be March minutes. Everybody read them?
Yes.
Can I get a motion to approve March's minutes?
Make a motion to approve March's minutes.
Can I get a second?
I second that.
All in favor? Welcome visitors. Anyone wants to speak here?
I'm with Fountain City Church of Christ,
Mm-hmm.
Jed Johnson, and we got a little bit of a water problem up there at the church. The property right next to it, between the two buildings, is only like 5 foot. And we've got some holes in the foundation that we're gonna fill up, but we got water coming in, going right in under there and into the basement. So what I'd like to do is once we get the holes filled up in the foundation, is put like a 4-inch tile, drain tile, down along the side of there and then run it out to the street. But in order to run it out to the street, I've got to cut the hole through the sidewalk and the curb, put the tile in there and then cement over top of it.
Chase?
As long as it's cemented back over and level with the existing sidewalk, you know, you make your cut, once you pour your concrete, as long as it's level with the existing sidewalk and all that, that's not a problem.
Well, you know, we can cut it off and let it come through from the yard across.
I'd rather do it the way you're saying to do it.
I'd rather do it that way.
Yeah, there's some gutters that are the same way, you know, so that's fine.
Well, the guy that owns the house next door, has got 3 downspouts coming out on a little drain tile thing. And if it rains very hard, that runs right over into our building. So,
The last house on Green Street. Right there at the
right
bottom.
there at
Sure.
the corner of Vine and,
Middle.
Mill Street.
Right here. At this church, okay.
But I wanted to make sure it was okay with the town to do that, and
I see no problem with it.
Sounds good to me.
You're good to go, sir.
yeah, we don't wanna cause problems for the neighbors or anything
Nope.
that way, but we need to get that water stopped. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Anyone else? Okay, we're going to move on to new business. I'm going to close the regular meeting and open the public hearing for the water grant. Mike,
All
you
right.
guys.
Good evening, council. My name's Mike Kleinpeter with Kleinpeter Consulting Group. You want me to stand over here,
Wherever you want.
I'll just go from here then. The notice for the public hearing today was posted in the Palladium item on May 20th. The purpose of the hearing is to discuss a grant to the Indiana Office of Community and Rural Affairs. We're applying for a grant in the amount of $700,000. The town will be contributing a local match of $3,001,419. These funds will consist of a state revolving loan fund in the amount of $2,935,419 and $66,000 from the water operating fund. We had a proposal due on Friday, April 3rd. We want to make sure that citizens are fully informed and have the opportunity to voice any concerns or support for the project. We had a site visit with Okra on May 19th to discuss the project, and we went through the scoring of the project. There are scoring elements that we can change, and there's points that are just assigned to us based on where we're located. We currently have a score of 279, with an additional 300 points that we're still able to achieve. Our application is due this Friday, so it's important to know that in order to get funded, what they do is they take all the scores, they rank them highest to lowest, and they start funding until they run out of money. You have to be over 450 points to be eligible for funding. So we're starting with 279, so we need at least a 171 out of 300 to be eligible for funding, which I feel pretty confident we can get to. In reality though, a score of 450 the last couple rounds hasn't gotten you funded. because they run out of money before they get to the bottom numbers. So really a competitive score has traditionally been around 500 points. So to get to 500 points, we got to score a 221 out of 300. I still don't think that's very doable. But there's been a lot of people working behind the scenes trying to get stuff done. Shane was on this call with Okra, and resident impact is important. So Okra wants to know, how are residents impacted by the water quality? How are residents impacted by hydrant pressure? How are residents impacted in general? So we went on Facebook, pulled a lot of the comments from there. We've actually gotten about 12 letters now from residents about water quality. So I feel like we got a lot of stuff to use to get the additional points. We have an application that has to be submitted by, it's not due till Sunday, but we're submitting by 4 p.m. on Friday because that's when the technical assistance ends, and you don't want to have any trouble past the deadline when they're not open. So we'll be submitting by Friday. Funds available for the grant, it is competitive, so there is a chance we could not get funded. If we don't get funded, Okra will come out and do a site visit and walk through our scoring elements. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kent to tell you a little bit about the project.
I think they already know, but we'll go through it again. I brought this exhibit, this way is north on the map. And basically, a lot of the lines, water lines were undersized in order to have an adequate pressure for fire protection and good pressure throughout the town. So combined with the need, because of the age of a lot of it being over 40 years old, most of the lines are being replaced with new water main. We're also replacing valves and hydrants throughout the town, but as you can see, some of these, I don't know how far away you can see very well. I'm a little older, I can't see very far anymore either. But anyways, we're going basically from the tower. We're creating an inner loop with 8-inch main and then 6-inch lines coming off of that throughout. We have 3 crossings on US 27, which we're going to require NDOT permit, and we've made application for that. Application for the IDEM approval for the construction is in process, so hopefully in the next 90 days we'll have all those permits in hand. There is a little bit of work planned at the water plant. I think the plan was to paint the detention tanks. With that, that's really the summation of what the project entails. Oh, there is a bulk loading station planned for here, just south of the Lions Club. But that's it. Any questions?
Will the streets be torn up again?
We're trying to avoid that as much as possible, but some areas are going to have it. We're going to try to do some directional drilling of some of the water main where we have to be in the pavement, so hopefully there'll be very little minimal disturbance to the pavement.
I was asked by another resident if water service would be interrupted during this, and I told him I wasn't sure.
I think a lot's going to depend on how well the valves work.
Right, and depending on where
Yeah.
they asked if he was going to start at the end of the lines or at the tower.
Yeah.
I told him I wasn't.
It'll be up to the contractor how he plans it out to do it, but we did have a couple of lines where we're going to insert some valves because we're going to be going right over the existing main, tearing the old main out as we go. But that was only in 2 cases, so there might be some disruption there. But the rest of it's, we're laying the new pipe, and once it's laid in the ground, it's tested and then disinfected. Then we'll start switching the connections over to the new pipe. And in those cases, they shouldn't see any disruption of service except for the short amount of time it takes to hook the house back, or the meter back to the new main.
have anything else for that, for the public hearing for that, Mike? Kent, either one of you?
No, I think, award announcements are on July 16th, so that's the date when they will come out, usually around lunchtime. If you go to okra.in.gov and you click subscribe now, you'll find out the minute I find out. Usually, they'll call Shane the morning of and give him an indication, so you'll know anything before I do.
Do you have a resolution?
There is a resolution tonight before you that I have to include in the application. It's right here. Basically, the resolution, I don't know if you guys read them or not, but it commits the local match to the project, and it also authorizes me to submit the application on
Do
your
we want
behalf.
to read it out? I don't. Jesse, you want to read that for me? You're the public speaker, Jesse.
Thank you, Shane. So resolution authorizing application submissions and local match commitment. Resolution of the Town of Fountain City, Indiana, authorizing the submittal of the WDW application to the Indiana Office of Community and Rural Affairs and addressing related matters. Whereas the Council of Town of Fountain City, Indiana, recognizes the need to stimulate growth and to maintain a sound economy within its corporate limits, and whereas the Housing and Community Development Act of 1974 as amended authorizes the Indiana Office of Community and Rural Affairs to provide grants to local units of government to meet the housing and community development needs as low and moderate income persons, and whereas the Town of Fountain City, Indiana has conducted or will conduct public hearings prior to the submission of the application to the Office of Community and Rural Affairs, said public hearings to assess the housing, public facilities, and economic needs of its low and moderate income residents. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the council in the Town of Fountain City, Indiana, that 1, the town council president is authorized to prepare and submit an application for grant funding to address water improvements and execute and administer a resident grant, including general admissions of the project management, contracts, and agreements pursuant of regulations of the Indiana Office of Community and Rural Affairs and the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. Number 2, the Town of Fountain City, Indiana hereby commits the requisite local funds in the amounts of $3,001,419 in the form of $2,935,419 in state revolving loan funds and $66,000 in water operating funds. Such commitment to be contingent upon recipient of WDW funding from the Indiana Office of Community and Rural Affairs, adopted by the Town of Fountain City, Indiana, this second day of June 2020 at 7 p.m.
Now, do I need to get the vote on that? I need a motion to accept this resolution.
I motion that we accept that resolution.
How about a second?
I'm out of words, it's usually
I couldn't hardly hear a word you said.
Really? I was speaking adequate, but I'll
Yeah,
second
because
the motion.
you were down like this.
Yeah, the words are a little small, my vision's getting worse at your age. I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anything else on the water side? Can I get a motion to adjourn the public hearing for the water project?
I'll make a motion to close.
Can I get a second?
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm gonna open a public hearing for the COVID-19 PPE grant.
Good evening, council. Notice for this public hearing is posted in the Palladium item on May 20th. The Indiana Office of Community and Rural Affairs on April 1st rolled out a new program called the COVID-19 Rapid Response Program. This program was created to address the immediate needs of rural communities in Indiana. I worked with Shane and Trina to discuss the needs of the town in regards to this grant application. This grant application was a first come, first served grant. There were 108 letters of need received across the state of Indiana, and 62 communities were awarded funding. The town was awarded a grant for $40,765 from the Indiana Office of Community and Rural Affairs. the town will be contributing a local match of $1,000 from the general fund. Out of the $41,765 of grant money, it will go towards a new washer and dryer for the fire department, and also for the purchase of self-contained breathing apparatus. And there is some funds in there for grant administration as well. This is a brand new program with federal rules and regulations. We're working closely with Okra to make sure we follow all those. The first requirement is to do a public hearing tonight, so that's why we're letting the public know about it, and then we've got some paperwork that I have to submit once we approve a resolution. They want this money spent within the next 60 days, so this is a project that'll move very quickly. So with that, I think we'll open it for public comment.
Now, is it that grant money, cause I was on that call for, there's only 5,000 of that can go towards the washer and 5,000 towards the dryer, right? And
Correct.
as the remainder has to go for
Right,
some
correct.
other stuff, okay. Just wanted to make sure that I was right,
Yes, that is correct.
okay.
Should actually cost $5,000.
It'll cost more than that.
They cost more than that.
They're extruders and they cost
They're-
more than that.
They're quote-unquote gear extruders. So yeah, turnout gear, washer and dryer is what it is. Any discussion?
So we have a resolution for that one as well.
Steve, just give that to Jesse so he can read it for
If I read this, can I have my laundry done in these extruders? These
Sure.
special washing dryers?
Sure.
Resolution authorizing application submission and local match commitment. Resolution of the town of Fountain City, Indiana, authorizing submittal of the COVID-19 response application to the Indiana Office of Community and Rural Affairs and addressing related matters. Whereas the council of the town of Fountain City, Indiana, recognizes the need to stimulate growth and maintain a sound economy with its corporate limits. And whereas the Housing and Community Development Act of 1974, as amended, authorizes the Indiana Office of Community and Rural Affairs to provide grants to local units of government to meet the housing and community development needs of low and moderate income persons. And whereas the town of Fountain City of Indiana has conducted or will conduct public hearings prior to the submission of the application of the Indiana Office of Community and Rural Affairs, said public hearings to assess the housing, public facilities, and economic needs of low and moderate income residents. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the council of the town of Fountain City, Indiana, that number one, the town council president is authorized to execute and administer a grant including general admissions of projects management, contracts and agreements pursuant of regulations of the Indiana Office of Community and Rural Affairs of the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. The town of Fountain City, number two, Indiana hereby commits that requisite local funds of the amount of $1,000 in the form of the general funds as matching funds for said program adopted by the town of Fountain City, Indiana, the second day of June 2020 at 7:10 p.m.
Any discussion on that resolution? If not, can I get a motion to accept this resolution?
I motion that we accept that resolution.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We will now, can I get a motion to adjourn this public hearing?
I make a motion we adjourn public hearing.
How about a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Reopen the regular business meeting. An additional appropriation for the fire department.
Did you already approve the minutes?
Yep.
Jeff has requested an additional appropriation of $30,000 for the fire department fund, $300 to make up the difference for the cost of the washer and dryer, since only $5,000 can be spent on each of them from the grant. So I just need council to make a motion to approve this resolution to apply for additional appropriations.
Can I get a motion for that?
Make a motion that we add for the additional appropriations.
About a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Townwide garage sale date. You had talked to Jonathan about that?
The townwide yard sales will be June 13th, which is the second Saturday of June.
Next week.
Yep.
And then, next thing is the spring cleanup date.
The spring cleanup will be June 27th, which is 2 weeks after the yard sale. I tried to get it the Saturday after and it was already taken, so I had to go with the 27th.
Sounds good.
No unfinished business. We'll go into the department reports.
Is there any visitors?
It was,
You have already talked?
yep.
I have something I want
Oh.
to inform
Alright.
council with. Sorry, I wasn't in here when they.
That's all right.
Mary Lou Griffey sent an email and she said she wasn't able to come to the meeting, so I'll speak. In regards to that, she has an issue with her water bill. She doesn't think that she has used as much water as what she's being charged for. She's called a few times and Michaela has tried to explain it to her, but I don't think she agrees with the explanation. But what happened was when we had to estimate readings for meters that weren't touch read and they couldn't open the pits, which Mary Lou had an old meter and we had to estimate for 3 months. And right before that, she was in the hospital for 3 months, which we didn't know. So her estimations were really, really low. So the next time that we could actually read her meter, she had 8,700 gallons of consumption. But from the 3 months previously, if you go by, I printed off all of last year and all of this year that we've done so far. Her highest reading from 19, which she does have some higher ones previous years before that, but I didn't want to go that far back, was 1,800 gallons. Her estimations were 600, 800, and 800. So that could account for 1,000 to 1,500 gallons of water that wasn't accounted for those 3 months. So you're looking at anywhere from 3,000 to 4,000 gallons that was added to her bill when we could read it, plus the consumption she used that month. So she paid that one. The next 2 months were 3,100 and 3,600, and she still doesn't think there's any way she could use that much water in a month. But her meter was replaced on 5/5 with a new touch read meter, and she used 1,600 gallons from 5/5 to 5/20 when we read meters for the billing, and that's not even half of the days that were in that billing cycle. So I don't see the problem on our side, because we had Sean go double read her meter to make sure it was right. If that 8,700 gallon reading was wrong, it would have been a negative reading the next month instead of 3,100 gallons that she used from the previous month before. So it's not a problem with the meters. She says that she's had them check her basement and her barn for leaks. They can't find one. So I don't know what explanation to give her, but she sent an email to me and all of you council members, so I thought I would address it. But there's a brand new meter in there now. The only other thing I could think of is if her toilet isn't sealing correctly and it's losing water. Once it gets down to a certain level, it fills back up again, and that accounts for more water than you think. It doesn't mean that it's running continuously or it would be really, really high. But she might not notice it if it just runs periodically to fill back up to the level it's supposed to be. So I just wanted to address that.
I don't know, is there anything that we could do? I mean,
I don't know.
Other than Sean's checked her meters and he's watched the needle, and it, usually if there's a leak they can tell because the
Yeah.
needle will be moving, and he said it wasn't moving. So that shows that there's not a leak. If it is, it's not a very big leak. So my only other explanation, if she's really doesn't use that much water, is a toilet issue. But I thought I would address it, so I don't know if one of y'all wanna call her and talk to her or what, but we've explained it to her 2 or 3 times and she doesn't, I guess, like our explanation.
Another contributing factor, her noticing it's slightly like more consumption since the meter's been changed, is that old meter was, who knows how old, those get worn out. When you replace a new meter, it usually read more true than what the previous meter was, so you'll
Well, the
see a
month
bump
before
in,
was-
you'll see a slightly bump in consumption.
The month before it was changed, it was 3,100 and she says she doesn't use that much water, so that was still the old meter. So I don't know. That's all, I just wanted to bring it up, so.
It's more water than I use.
I use about that, but I have 2 people and I do laundry,
Yeah, I only
So,
got one.
yeah.
Me.
But that's the month she was in the hospital, there was.
We're only certain,
and I-
we're only certain ones estimated for 3 months.
The ones that didn't have a touch read meter and they couldn't open the pits, they were
I
all
have a touch
estimated
read
for 3
meter.
months.
You have that.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to department reports. Chase, you wanna start?
Yeah, I'll go first since we're on the water thing. Sean changed 10 residential meters to touch read. I helped him with a couple of those. He's trying to just go through and get so many done every week. That way, by next winter, we don't have that issue again and we can go around and just read everybody's and we won't have to estimate them anymore. He did 3 turn-offs per customer request for repairs. 1 turn-off for end of service. The structure's being removed on Chestnut and, the corner of Chestnut and Cherry.
That mobile home.
Yes, yeah. See, water produced for May was 1,645,000 gallons. He had the wells tested for manganese and ammonia levels. That goes to the guy that came and tested the wells, suggested that we get a new meter that for our chlorine and our iron. He said that one's pretty old and it might be a good idea. Because our numbers are kind of jumping around a lot, he suggested that, you know, we might go with that. Sean got 3 quotes. He figured the easiest way to do it was to get 2 meters that are basically an individual function. It's the same price as just getting one multifunction one. So the front page
This is Sean's.
yeah. So he's asking for permission to be able to go ahead and order the meters.
Do you have anything else you?
Nothing I can think of. Like I said, he's gonna try and go through and keep flushing hydrants and whatnot, and, he's been helping me out with some stuff. Just trying to keep up on everything. As far as the sewer goes, have we had a meeting since the gravel got installed? I can't remember.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Last meeting we had, you asked for all that stuff.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So they got all the gravel put in around all the tops of the lagoons out there and up the driveway and up to the new building out there. That's been really, really nice to not have to worry about sliding off into the ponds. Hawkins came in and installed new chemical tanks, versus the old way. I don't have to touch the chemical, remove the chemical or anything else. The company comes out, pumps it into the tank, and I'm done with it. I did a test discharge in April, so I found out the chemical feed pump needed to be replaced. So that's what I asked you guys for that. It was for the bisulfite, which kills the chlorine that's in the water before it goes out to the creek. Got that installed and replaced. It's working fine. So I discharged 9 days in May for a total of 1,080,000 gallons. Hearst Technical came out, they're the guys that, they calibrate our meters and kind of do some of our technical kind of calibrating and they came out to give us a quote on automating our system to an extent where, newest thing I could figure up is like when the power went off, what, 2-3 weeks ago? It was about 3 weeks ago. So when the power goes off and the generator kicks on down at the park, it sounds that alarm. Even though everything's operating fine, council member gets a phone call, then I get a phone call, I come into town just to turn the alarm off when everything's even working fine. This system would allow me to remotely from my phone, shut the alarm off, and then go through and check all of make sure the pumps are running, make sure the generator's running, make sure that everything's the way it should be, basically. So they'll be getting me some numbers on that. That'll also eliminate me actually having to go to the lift stations every day because I can actually read the pump hours and the flow from my phone and computer back there. So, and he's going to give me a couple different levels of, moderate automation to, a little bit higher kind of deal. And same thing, he's going to add a little thing in for the plant. Same thing, if we lose water pressure, it'll send an alarm out. It'll automatically call us. Same thing, if the pumps go out, we'll get a phone call. I'll get a phone call first, and then he'll get a phone call. And if we don't answer, then he'll get, say Shane will get a phone call, and it'll just go through until somebody gets, and then it can automatically call dispatch if nobody answers. Please give me some prices on that. My thought was, since it being that I don't live in town, that's part of it, that I can remotely see what's going on. I worry about when a storm rolls through and worry about even having to be able to go anywhere. You know what I mean? So, and then the time it takes me to have to go to every lift station. So, let's see. Oh, when he was out here doing all this, he's getting me a quote on it. I haven't gotten it yet. The flow meter at the school lift station is going to need to be replaced. There's been zero flow. The pump hours have not moved at all in a month, and it's still showing that there's flow, and there's not. So he said the actual meter, it's pointing facing the sun most of the time, so the LCD screen's pretty well baked.
Can you read it, can you?
What's that?
You can't even really read it, can you?
No, you have to, we've actually had to go into opening the panel lid to read it, but he said the meter's not, it shouldn't be registering anything if the pumps aren't running, so, when I get a price, I'll relay that to you guys, so. I forgot the paper, I talked to John Deere, the 4-wheel drive John Deere mower that we have, that's a sewer mower, was bought in 2013. It's got 350-ish hours on there. I talked to John Deere and had them come and look at what a trade-in would be. Me and Sean personally, I don't know how Ron mowed them hillsides out there at the lagoons with that mower. I tried it and wasn't too keen on it, so, and Sean wasn't either. So I had them come out and look at the mower and see, what kind of trade-in value we'd get. The town would only have to pay $2,040 for a brand new mower. Airless tires on the back, 60-inch deck. They were giving us $8,000 on the trade-in. They were really impressed with how good a shape the mower was in. So, I guess I'm asking see if we can go ahead and trade that mower in while it's still got some value left on it and get a new one.
Let's go back to the water meter thing, or the chlorine meters, real quick. Is there any more discussion on that? Sean's just asking for one of them, or
Well,
since they're all the same price?
Well, to buy the
The two of them.
two or $450 a piece, so that equates to about the same price as just a singular one. He said that way we're not wearing out the same, you gotta think, every time let's see, so every day we said 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, that bottle's in and out, I think 6 times every day, and the guy he said, you guys it might be just getting wore out and it's not reading the proper way, so, I think he wanted just the individual ones for the iron and one for the chlorine is the route he wanted to go.
Any discussion on those?
No.
Jesse,
No discussion on that.
make a motion that Sean can go ahead and purchase those.
Make a motion that we go ahead and purchase each of those meters.
Second,
I second that.
all in favor?
What?
Back to the mower thing. Chase and I had talked about that. He voiced his concern on it too, and I told him to go ahead and have John Deere come look at them, and when he told me the price deal, it was very astonishing to me. So I think it's a great idea for a brand new mower to only pay $2,000 for it, so. I get a motion to go ahead and trade the 4-wheel drive lawnmower in for a 0-turn.
I motion we trade in the 4-wheel drive for a new one.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then just one word, Trina gave me my budget rundown stuff of what I need to spend by the end of the month to make sure we're gonna get not cut again. So it was kind of, with everything going on, it was kind of a little short notice, so I've been making calls on getting, the street department has like no barricades whatsoever. We have a couple of old ratty ones. We have actual no across the street barricades, the A-frame ones. And then there's a half a list of signs that need to be replaced in town to go with NDOT kind of regulation type deals. I'm getting quotes on that, and then, possibly getting some quotes on, excuse me, getting some of the corners replaced, like on Main with ADA compliant, landings, I guess you would call them. Cause we have some of the tree and sidewalk budget that needs to be, and I'm gonna price some different projects and see, kinda what's going on with that, so I'll be kinda reaching out to you guys as I get numbers coming in and whatnot, so.
Cause he needs to try and get that spent before June 30th.
That's what I was gonna say, by the end of the month.
I think what the street department, I need to spend around 2,000, and then the tree and sidewalks around 1,500, and then another 800 at the park. The building and grounds is good, but I need to mulch the playground yet, and do some other things down there that'll kind of eat into that budget, but I'd like to get it spent so we don't get cut again.
Right, did you buy your other apple salt yet, or?
I called the other day and they weren't in the office, but that'll eat up some of the street department budget too, is getting the rest
I
of
knew
the
we were
stuff.
talking about that.
Yeah, and I
The
think I
street
have,
department, we usually don't have too much trouble with spending half of it by then. June.
You're right. Okay, anything else?
that's all I got.
I did wanna ask about the holes up there by the old Wesleyan Church CE building. That we had issues with before. Are we still waiting for the weather to warm up a little bit?
Holes.
Like it goes down by the gas station.
On Green Street there, is that the ones you're talking?
Green Street out to Hartley as it flows from that
Oh,
wet area. Is that what you're talking
the old
about?
Wesleyan Church right there on the corner.
Yes.
Hey,
Did,
did it pop back out again?
Last time I drove through there, which I don't drive through there very often, I was sure there was still a hole there, so.
okay. And well, and that was the other thing with the street department, is we actually started getting, scoops of cold patch rather than buying the skids from Menards or wherever. I mean, that's $700 and something for the whole skid. And it's $135 for a scoop out at Milestone. So it's kinda, like I said, with everything going on, and then I've been trying to get balanced out with disinfecting and whatnot, and getting everything kinda set up. Me and Sean have kinda tentatively planned to go around and get a couple scoops of cold patch and patch the potholes, and we also figured, on the road back to the water plant, since at some point we're gonna tear that up, just taking the cold patch and kinda doing a kind of mounted over deal to keep the asphalt from crumbling away anymore. We figured that was a kind of not expensive fix, and it would still serve its purpose, so it's on the agenda.
That it?
If that's it.
Mr. Martin?
You'll see two reports, one for March and April, because I thought we don't have a meeting, and we didn't, so. I'll just go over it quickly. The police service, the numbers are down just because of the COVID-19 stuff and traffic stops and stuff, and we don't want guys being exposed and stuff like that. Total number of cases we draw on, you guys can see that. I do want to bring to your attention, there was comments being made about me not working by citizens out in the town. I wanted to provide you guys the hours I've been working. That's on there. Still working on grants. I got the Hero grant from Lowe's. I'm working with them currently. I was on the phone with them today about doing the remodel in the office and stuff like that. I'm still working with Motorola Solutions for radio grants and stuff like that. And in that first report, I started reviewing the ordinances for the yards and vehicles and such. And I think I contacted Aubrey about her looking over them and stuff like that, make sure we're good to go on some of those. The second report from May, the numbers are up a little bit more. I've asked the guys to increase traffic enforcement a little bit more. Started working on ordinances. Right now I've had 7 ordinances, warnings, cited 1 person for dog running loose, and have taken 1 dog to doggy jail, if you want to say, because I couldn't find the owner, so county was available that day and they were able to take the dog in. So far we're up to 25 cases drawn. I got 3 active cases still going on. Training, as far as the guys, we're still doing everything online. Academy's shut down a lot of stuff. We still can't do, like firearms training, defensive tactics trainings and stuff like that, so we're doing a lot of stuff online through Police One Academy and other means. Still working on grants. Mr. Yondel there's graciously offered to help me look into some and discuss stuff, so try to get some equipment and the radios and stuff like that. Also fixed decals on the Explorer. Didn't notice it for the longest time, but they were messed up, got that fixed. And I also want to address the Charger. My opinion, you need to probably look at maybe finding a way to replace it sooner than later. It's getting a lot of miles on it. I drove it one day and about drove in the ditch because when I turned the corner, when you let the steering wheel go and it'll go back for you, it didn't, and I almost went into the ditch and wrecked. So, so far this year it's cost me over $1,000 in my maintenance budget. So I think sooner than later, we may be able to squeak by until the end of the year, but something to think about. And I just included like a vehicle. They're out there. I can find them. There's a 2009 Crown Vic, basically almost equipped fully, with only 26,000 miles on it. You can get it through Chicago Motors for around 12 grand. But that's just food for thought for you guys. I ain't saying you go get it right now, but just food for thought for you guys if you consider it or want to talk to me about it later or something like that. Other than that, a couple things on there. There was a letter that was brought to me before the meeting, if you guys want to read it from the citizens. And I'm addressing grass ordinance, and I'm addressing the blowing the debris out in the road. I've already went through 4 or 5 people, talked to them. Everybody's been compliant. They're like, okay, next time we'll do that. So I'm slowly getting that stuff addressed and taking it that approach instead of just, giving them a ticket or giving them, I've been stopping, talking to the people, and it's working well. So most people have complied very well. So that's pretty much it for me.
Any discussion or comments on Carrie's report? Moving on to the approval of claims and payments over the March, April, May COVID shutdown kind of deal. Trina and I had been on the phone several different times about the claims, and I told her just to go ahead and pay everything. that way we could, and then, so pretty much tonight, we need a motion to approve those, and then we'll have to sign all three of them, and then for for this month's also.
So,
So can I get a motion
March, April, May.
to approve the March, April, and May claims and payments?
Make a motion that we accept the March, April, May, claims and payments.
How about a second?
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anything else?
Not that I can think of.
Jesse?
The only thing I have to say is, we're currently working, like Carrie said, with grants, working with, some local stuff, thanks to the direction of Mike over here, Mike Wayne Peter, calling Wayne County, Foundation and the Reed Foundation, and trying to set up some meetings with them and, see if we can't, get some like local sponsorships through them, so. It's in the works, and these things take a while, so, hopefully, everything works out well, and we'll continue to update you guys and the public as we go through that. That's about it.
Very good.
Anything on your end over there?
Only thing I've heard from some of the people is they have no idea. They have no idea what's going on with this water project. But they don't want their water bill to go up, and I said, well, I know it's on Facebook, but not everybody does Facebook.
Right. And
There's just so many people out there that have no clue.
the grant, we'll keep it, if we get that grant, it'll keep yeah,
It'll reduce the amount you have to borrow.
right, but their user fees won't go up as much. Is that right?
As much. They're still going, that's why Aubrey sent me an email asking we won't do a rate study until after we find out if we get the grant and all that. Then Brock will have to do a rate study to see what we need to raise those rates to. But I don't know how else
I can
to,
afford it.
I don't know how else to get the message out for people to come to the meetings. Being on Facebook is more advertisement than what it used to be when Sue was here, cause she didn't use a computer for anything. So putting it on the sign and putting it on Facebook and putting it on the agenda, I don't know how else to let people know to get them to come to the meetings.
I guess if anybody asks about it, if they go on the website for the TV, you can look up past meetings and they can watch,
A lot of people don't do that. They don't.
That's the only other thing I could think
I
of.
wanna know what people do.
We're gonna have to
That's
figure out
information.
something, get some flyers out or something, because,
Isn't it
I
in the
know
PAL
I can
item?
afford it, and the people I've talked to can afford it, and we'll just move, probably.
But the only other thing we can do is send mailers out.
And that's a big cost.
Can we put a little snippet on the bill? Water bill?
I've even put them on water bills before
Yeah.
too, because Amy suggested that, or it wasn't actually Amy, it was
Stu,
Susie
Susie, Ripley.
suggested putting, and I did that last public hearing we had, and it didn't make anybody else more than what normally comes to the meeting show up, so.
I might just have to bite the bullet and send out a letter. Just get it done, that way we've at least addressed it. You agree? It'd be a good idea, send out a letter to everybody, residents.
Once we create
I mean,
printouts
especially
and
now
take
with
Do a
everything
summary.
else going on, I don't look for this economy to take a big jump to the positive for a long time.
we print out flyers, well, I wouldn't say flyers, but something and take them door to door. That would be easy enough.
Yeah, I agree.
It'd be less expensive
Yeah.
if y'all wanna go put stuff. We
Absolutely.
could get
I'll
together
volunteer
on a
today.
day and go stick them in people's doors.
Yes.
Just can't stick them in the mailbox, that's a federal offense.
We don't wanna do that,
No.
no. Anything else?
Well,
No.
Can I get a motion for adjournment?
I motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Second,
second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right.